You gonna come hang out? Yeah, okay. Okay, can you play on your iPad and play your games, please? Probably not. No. He's like, no. All right, well, that is, whoa. He's like, now that you're on the computer, I want to stand right here in front of you. That is a hat. I'm a firefighter. How about we play games? How about we play on the iPad? All right, well, tell me what you guys thought of the first 3 chapters in a nutshell before we go over it, and if there was anything in the introduction that you liked. Because I literally read this part 5 times. I just really like the introduction itself. It made me feel better about myself. So I was like, I started that the laws can be learned, and that laws can stand alone, and that the laws carry consequences, and that they're the foundations of leadership, and that will never change. The laws that John Maxwell goes over are not something that when you're a diamond with plexus, or even if you're a pastor of a church, it's not like those change. They're always going to stick, and they're always going to be beneficial to leadership. And so I really like that a lot, because I try to apply it outside of plexus as well, and in my own life. So what, honey? Oh, you want to play? Okay, how do we watch that? Uh-oh. There's no uh-oh. You're fine. You can unmute yourself, Sam, and talk.
Hi. So I liked that that it does go through the stages, because it doesn't happen overnight. It happens. Yeah. They're vacuuming or something here. So if it is too loud, just let me know.
If you're talking, it's fine. It's when you're not talking that I can.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I liked that it did go through more of he even explains, I think, in the 3rd chapter, where he's talking to the one kid that attended his conferences, where he's in 30 years, you're going to be a great leader, or 20 years, you're going to be a great leader. And normally me, I'm 20 years? Why not tomorrow? What do you mean? And so, but how he breaks it down and makes it seem like it's still something that you're constantly working towards and building on. So I like that a lot.
That's super true. Super true. Casey, what about you?
To be honest, I was really overwhelmed even going through the introduction, because there's so many different parts to leadership. But then by the 3rd chapter, I was kind of encouraged, because, well, like Sam said, it's a process, and it's something that you always have to work on. So there's hope. There's hope to grow in those areas. You don't have to necessarily have it all together.
I think that's so true, because when I was going over the evaluation, I was it shows your flaws, because you have to think about yourself, and you're oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, and you're but it can be learned. It's not oh, you suck at this, and this is your lowest scores. Oh, let's not color in mommy's planner. Let's just color in her notebook. Yeah. That just because you're low in one area doesn't mean you're not. Oh, let's not color on the iPad. How about just on the paper? Smart idea. My husband will kill me. Is that there's growth, and you can still learn, and it's always a refining process. And just because you score 9 in something doesn't mean that that's gonna, be. Can you not do that? Your strongest thing when it comes to leading, just because you're naturally good at it. It might not even be beneficial to where you are in your leadership. And so that really spoke to me, because something that I'm a 9 in, it's still a really huge struggle for me in plexus, even though it's a 9 naturally. And I was oh, that sucks. That means I still have to learn and grow. I can't just write it off and pretend I don't need to work on it. So super, super humbling for me. So I was oh yeah, I don't have to work on this one area. And then I was that's a lie. I really need to work on this one area, and it shows. Okay, we're not going to listen to that.
I think with me, going through the evaluation, that's when I got really overwhelmed, because I was oh my gosh, I thought that I would score so much better in these. And there are things that I thought I would score better in that I definitely didn't. But like reading, I'm sure as I read more into the chapters, I'm going to understand why and how to work towards approaching things differently or fixing that. But yeah, there were some things though that I was like, I don't really see myself ever scoring higher in. So that was a little concerning for me.
Why do you feel like you don't think that's something that you're going to score higher in?
I'm trying to find the one.
I'm curious. And then tell me which one it is.
Yeah, so because how the questions were phrased, I guess, it made me think more about like how I personally felt and not just necessarily as a leader, but as me personally, like in my own life. It was the law of sacrifice.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't sacrifice things like my own personal beliefs for the betterment of like a company or for the betterment of, you know, a team, because I just think that's wrong. And so that was hard because I was like, I don't know if I want to score higher in that. Like,
I agree though. Like I didn't score what I thought I would. I was like, oh, I'm super sacrificial, but I'm like sacrificial in some areas. Like as a mom, I'm sacrificial, and as a wife, I'm not sacrificial. Like I know that like I'm a very stubborn, and like if I have my own ways, I have my own ways, and I don't just lay things down willy-nilly just for the heck of it. Like there's reasons I believe what I believe. And so, but I don't think that necessarily means that in leadership that you aren't going to be sacrificial and be amazing at that. I think and I think as females, that looks different for us as well, compared to like John Maxwell, who wrote this, who's like a dude. And so like, I think it looks so different, females leadership to like men, and even how men process and how they can put things in just different categories. And us women are like all over the place.
That's a really good point too.
I try to remember that when I read books that are like written by men, that it probably won't ever 100% like line up with what I think, because we don't think the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since like his editors and his inner circle and his like best friends are probably guys as well. So they're all oblivious to this, like when we're watching it and reading through it. So I try to keep that in mind. How about you, Casey? Is there something that like stuck out to you when you did the evaluation that you were shocked in, or that you were like proud of yourself, or something that you're like, you know, you wanted to see how the book lays it out?
I wasn't really surprised in the areas that I scored lower in, just because as a whole, leadership is something that I really struggle with. But like I was surprised at some of the areas that I did score higher in. And a lot of my problem is confidence, and like going forth with confidence and knowing that like that's a strong point and that I need to continue to grow that, but I should also take that and know that's one of my strengths and use that. But yeah, I was kind of shocked at some of the things I scored higher on.
That's good though.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, intimidating though.
It is. And I think as you like continue to like read through the book and like as we talk through it, like for me, like no matter how many times I go through it, I always can like see it in a different way. And so if it shocks you and you go through it and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then next year if you go through it, you're like, oh wow, like so like completely different like revelation for it. What are you watching? Okay, Alvin and the Chipmunks. Okay, I'm always worried. There's like you can like get into like older people shows, and I'm like, you don't need to be watching, you know, The Walking Dead at all. All right, well, let's go into the Law of the Lid. I had no idea that was how McDonald's started. I thought that was really interesting, like super interesting.
Well, that was kind of cool.
I was like, huh. And then it ended up like being like really good for leadership, and like seeing that one of like the most popular fast food chains started how it did. And it
I watched a documentary on them actually. I don't remember. I think it was for my entrepreneur class. and they were awful business owners. Like, this doesn't even begin to tell how bad they were with their business. Like, I think in here somewhere it says that the guy wanted, like, when the two brothers decided that they would allow people to start franchising, the guy was like, oh, well, I want to call it McDonald's. And they were like, why? Like, they don't even know what that means. Like, they literally were so poor business minded. They awful. So this guy, like, jumped in and, like, completely turned around what could have been a total sham that would never have happened.
Yeah, that was super crazy. I'm sure. I think my husband watched the documentary because he watches documentaries like for fun, and he like always knows these like weird facts about like. Yeah, I know you too, Sam. It's fine. He's even weird with it. I'm like, why are you watching that one? I remember like him watching, and he was just like really shocked with like leadership and how we see big like now in 2017, like we see big picture, and like we have no idea like the struggles, and it's like a reminder that like people struggle and things are gonna fail, and we just don't ever even see the big picture. We're just like, oh, their company is a multi-billion-dollar company now. I mean, a super unhealthy multi-billion-dollar company, but like they are doing really well, and it had nothing to do with them and their leadership. It was completely different. So, what did you guys do? I'm just curious who you wrote down for someone whose leadership lids seemed unlimited. My child's in my ribcage. I wrote Celeste Gwen because every time I watch her Diamond documentary, I just get like really shocked that she has done what she's done. And even though she is someone of influence to begin with, is that she has continued to go up even when she doesn't need to anymore. Like she doesn't need, like she could just sit back and relax and rely on her team to do everything and just manage them. But she's continued to be a leader instead of just managing. And I think that like speaks volumes, and she's like super down to earth. So that's what I wrote.
I have her too.
Huh?
I put her down too. She was like the first person that came to my mind, and I'm sure there's plenty of others. I wrote her, and then I said, and many more, because on my mind was like Plexus. I just watched like a couple Diamond docs, but she was the first person because I was like, her story literally screams, I have no lid. Like,
oh yeah,
she broke the glass ceiling.
Yeah, and she started before there was even like a diamond rank. They just knew they wanted to get diamond. Like they just didn't, they had no idea. And then they created diamond, like double diamond for her. And like, she had no idea what that even looked like. And I don't know, that just literally blows my mind. And I'm like, whoa. So. Casey, how about you?
I put a few down. I put Rachel, I put Donnelly, and then I put Allie.
Oh. Thanks.
Y'all are all like, man, just leaders that I really look up to. Like, I look at you guys and I'm like, oh, I wish I could be like you guys one day. Because you're so strong, like, and you seem to know like how to lead people.
This book, I'm telling you, this book is freaking amazing. Seriously. So, and Donnelly's a really good, like her and Laura, like even how fast they ranked up in the company, like that just shows you that they have. It blows my mind how quick, like how when you see someone like rank up that quick and not stall, like because you can see someone like rank very quickly and then like hit senior Ruby, just like completely stall out. And I think that like speaks volumes when you see someone go above and beyond that. They're pretty cool. And I like Rachel. I like her a lot. What did you guys think of, I had a really hard time, like I don't do graphs. I did not do well. And I did not do well. I was homeschooled. So when they like show like graph thingies, they're not even called graphs. What are they called? What are these things called? Graphs?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was like, yeah, I really had to read and then reread that part like 4 or 5 times to like understand what they were saying with like effectiveness in leadership and what that looks like and how your effectiveness will, you know, help your success or not. So what do you guys think of that? Okay, no one wants to listen to that. Okay.
I thought I did something. I was like, oh my God, turn it off.
Bruno Mars song in Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like, no.
That's hilarious. Okay, where is it? So I definitely had to like look over this a couple different times because I think the first time I just kind of like just looked at the graph and I was like, okay, I don't understand what he's telling me. And then I read it and I was like, okay, I still don't really understand what he's telling me. And then I went into, where is he? The like second paragraph of him like talking about, let's say your natural leadership ability is a 4. So it's like always this kind of a step below, but then up and across. And it's crazy that he like thought of this idea to explain something, like an example.
But it makes sense. Like once I like read it like 10 times and then asked my husband like what he meant. Because I'm very visual and this is an awful visual. And I was like, I don't understand.
I agree. I still don't get it, but that's okay.
It's just like from what I got out of it, I could be completely wrong. And I've done this like I've literally read this part like I want to say 20 times, and I'm still mad. Like if you're not strong in leadership at all, just say you're like a fantastic follower, and you don't do anything to like increase it, or I thought my husband was almost like that's super, super crazy. You're just gonna like plateau there, but you're gonna actually be a step lower than you think. And that's because that's all the people you're going to influence. You can't influence your sidelines. You're only going to influence people underneath you. And so, and as you continue to be effective with your leadership, it's going to continue to grow, and your success will also heighten as well, instead of just plateauing at nothing, just being a follower. You have to get better leading.
Yeah. Basically, like what I got out of it was like, you can be good at one thing, but you'll never get above it if you're not a good leader. So you need to grow as a leader as you grow in the one thing or the two things or whatever your bottom line is. So like with me, I am really good at influence, I guess.
See,
I scored high.
Look at that. See, you're really influence.
I scored really high in influence, and I can't just solely rely on being influential. I have to also build my floors, my levels of leadership on top of that to be able to get successful across the board.
Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
If that's where your lit is, and you're never gonna.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm obviously still gonna have to like keep. I think it's something you're constantly having to work at and like look at and realize that like you have to be willing to like look at your flaws almost, and not just focus on them, but let that like feed you to go higher. And so, which is my biggest issue. I hate looking at my strengths and trying to like be better in my strengths. Like I just rather fix everything. So, all right. Did you guys do the apply section about asking people to rate your leadership?
I did this a long time ago, but I didn't do it like with this activity. I just did it when Rachel had, I think it was the Road to Gold or something like that.
What was do you think that's changed looking back at your answers when you did that then and the answers you got to where they would be now?
To be honest, I asked a lot of my family, and I think they were a little too nice. But then again, yeah, but then again, like, I don't know, the areas that I scored higher in the evaluation were things that they pointed out. So maybe my view of my leadership is just a little bit skewed, and maybe I do need to have confidence. But I do think it's changed a little bit, because that was last year. So.
Oh yeah. And so much can change in 1 year, even like, not even Plexus wise, but like life as well.
Yeah.
So I think you should redo it and find different people to do it. Even if like you're afraid of what, like, okay, my biggest thing, I'm like really, Like, I love people like confronting me, and I don't mind confrontation and change. Like, I don't mind that. But asking someone to rate you is like the scariest thing in the world.
I have to agree with that.
Like I said, I'm really needy. So I'm like, just tell me I'm good at it. Like, don't tell me I'm bad. And so, yeah. But the person that was the hardest on me when I did this was my husband, which,
Really?
yeah, which is good. Like, we have that relationship where like he calls me out and I call him out on stuff. And like, if he wanted to be nice, he'd just be like 10s all the way down. Like, you're the only 10 I see, you know, like awful. But he was like, I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, well, you have people skills, but sometimes it's not people skills that people want. And I was like, and so he was like pointing things out that he like didn't admire in my personality. Like, it turns him off. And I was like, thanks, babe. But it was good. Like, I learned more, and like I could see through the eyes of someone else who was maybe a little bit harsher and ruder.
So, Casey, I had the same like issue as you. I asked like close friends and family, and they were all like, all of them said like 10, 10, 10, 10, and then one said 9, 9, 9.5, but only because I know that you like to try and get better at things. And so I was like, it's not really helping me like at all. So I did ask Rachel too, and she was like brutally honest with me, which was nice. Definitely like helped me see where I could grow in things like with planning and results, and like actually just like going completely through with an action rather than like talking about it, or rather than helping someone else like figure out their plan of action, to just like put it more on myself. And so I'd be interested though to see like in a year what this would look like, or even 6 months really what this would look like for me. Because now that somebody has been like, hey, you need to get more out of your comfort zone, or hey, like you need to just say what you actually want to say rather than like sugarcoating everything, which I do. I actually I'm like, okay, I need to work on that. I need to do that now.
Yeah. And that's good that like, I feel like Rachel's someone who is going to be real with you. Like, no matter who you are in her life, like whether you're like her best friend or like, you know, just a random person on the street. Like, if you come off a certain way, she's going to tell you that, and she's going to be real with you. And yeah, she's definitely someone who's, I mean, I was like, say things good to me, like give me high numbers. Like, and obviously she was like, she told me what I should work on and what I can work on. And I was like, as much as I didn't want to hear it, it was like super beneficial. So Casey should do it again and have Rachel do it for you.
I'm scared.
Well, you said Rachel went through it the first time with you?
She was the one that issued the challenge.
Yeah, like a year ago, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be really good then for her to go with it like you again.
Yeah. Maybe I'll ask her.
I would.
Maybe.
So I feel like especially when it comes to like when we're focusing specifically on plexus, it's helpful to have someone who is
Familiar with that.
there and can speak directly into the business side of it, because we aren't people who, at least I know for a fact, us three are not people who live and breathe, only speak and like vomit plexus. Like we have very much active outside plexus lives. And so I think sometimes that's hard because how we manage our plexus might look very different than how I am with my husband, or how I am with like my group of mom friends, and how like I am on leadership at church compared to plexus. And so I think it's always good to have people who are not involved in both, and then one who's like fully engaged. Like my husband, he's fully involved in my life, and then Rachel is fully involved in my plexus life, and to like see both sides of things. Because I mean, my mom and sister are like super nice to me. They're like 10s, amazing. And so, you know, I mean, I know I am, but it's helpful. Is there anything else you guys wanted to go over? Any parts that you wanted to talk about in the law of the lid? I'm curious what you guys are doing. Like the take action part of like, what are the greatest challenges you face as a leader and who's like contributed to your growth, and then what you're currently doing to grow as a leader. I really like those questions.
So the take action part, wasn't that like us supposed to be interviewing the person that we saw like with no lid? Okay. Yeah, I definitely didn't interview Celeste Gwen, just so we all.
I didn't either.
Okay. But I like these questions just to have like to think about, to keep in the back of your mind as you're like. Mm-hmm.
Are you going to interview someone, even if it's not Celeste Gwen?
Yeah, I like asking people questions. I actually, when you had given us those like the task lists kind of a couple months ago, and you like said reach out to like some leader that you admire, something like that. Like I feel like I might do the same thing for that same person.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Not you, Sam. Not you. Casey, did you interview anyone, or did you just go from when you did it with Rachel, or when we did the Road to Gold? Road to Gold, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't interview anybody this week. I interviewed Sable before.
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah. But no, the part about developing myself as a leader, I have like so many books on my reading list right now. It's ridiculous. And so I've really been trying to get some more audiobooks because those are just way easier to soak up information, especially because we're in the car a lot. So that is something that I want to work on. I would like to try to do like 2 audiobooks a month because I think that's very doable.
Yeah, that's impressive. I don't know if I could do that. I'm like one book. That is. That's something, and I feel like most leaders that you talk to say that like reading books and being like plugged into other influences and other sources are like huge. Like when I interviewed, Casey knows who it was. I interviewed my old boss, Kenny. Do you remember Kenny?
Barely.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah. He either leaves like a really like great impression or like, meh. But he like says that he reads, how many months are there in a year? 12. So he reads at least 24 books a year. And then he listens to a podcast every week, and then 3 sermons every week.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
he's part of like quarterly book clubs. And I was like, what? And he's like has this huge library, and like how he spoke highly of reading, even if he doesn't like it or the book is like a bore to him, of how much like he learns just by doing that and how much discipline it takes to do that. And he like still has his own life and his own business and his own everything. And that like spoke volumes to me because I hate reading, and I start books and I never finish them. Like I cannot even, like I started How to Retire Your Husband. I started GoPro. I've started What to Say When You Talk. Like I've just started like every book, and I get like 4 chapters in and I'm like, okay, got everything I needed out of it. Like done.
That's further than I get.
But that's because I can read like 4 chapters in a sitting, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm done. Like that was like,
No.
so that's something I like personally I want to work on to like grow as a leader, because someone I really admire as a leader does that. And I've seen like the positive, like the good of it. I'm like, so right now I have like this book I'm reading, and I'm going to read another book, and I'm reading a doula book and a childbirth book. And it's just so bad. So bad. I'm like burn myself out of books. I hate books. Oh, so. All right. So law of influence. Oh, I'm like so sweaty because I drank hot chocolate and my heat's on and I'm pregnant, and I'm so sweaty. Really sorry. I feel like everything's just sticking to me. Ugh. Okay. Sam, you should share what you were saying about influence when we talked and how you feel like you didn't have that, but that's like really one of your strengths.
So last week when we were all supposed to meet Casey, I ended up having just a chat with Allie because I was like really concerned about the law of influence. I scored really high in it, but I didn't feel like I don't feel like I have influence on like a broad spectrum. I feel like I have influence very specifically, very categorical. Like take food. Like I'm a big foodie, and people, when they think food, they think me, and then they usually go by like, okay, well, Sam said this place is really good, so like we have to try it. And that's as far as like I feel like it goes. But then like when talking with Allie and like actually looking over my week, and I did that exercise, the take action part of it, where you see like if you did actually influence people the past week or the past couple of weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, I do have influence like over more than just food. This is cool. But I really didn't feel like it. And so that's something that I'm still trying to work on and like hone in on and tell myself that I do have influence, because that does help. I've been manifesting a lot. And so I feel like that's just something that I added to it. Like, okay, and you do have influence, Sam. You're influential.
You really do. And I think, at least for me, like all those myths, like I still go back to them and absolutely agree 100%. And I didn't even realize how much I thought managers and leaders were the same thing. And it's still hard for me to think that they're different. Because in my head, I like just, oh yeah, if they're the manager, they obviously have good leadership, and
it's like an instant association. Like that was me with entrepreneurs. I felt like, with entrepreneurs, like you had to be a leader of some sort. Like it just made sense to me. And the same thing with managers. Like just because you think of it as like that level, like, oh, the higher you get, like the more leadership you have, and that's not necessarily true. And so you almost have to train your brain to think backwards.
It was like super interesting because it said like in the observe part, it said within your organization who is not formally recognized as a leader but has influence, because like that can be balanced, I feel like. And it was true. Like I know people who have like, you know, a lot of level ones, and you can tell they have a lot of influence, but they're not necessarily good leaders. And that's even something I'm working on, of having like, you know, just because I might be like wide, it's not deep. And of like what that looks like in leadership, of having good influence, long and deep. And so I really like that. Casey, what did you think of like the myths and like that whole like observation part of being a person of influence and not just management and all of that?
I thought it was interesting, just because, like when you do think of a manager, you think of someone, it's the same thing as leadership, but it's really not. And I just look at, like, I know so many people who rank up to a certain point, specifically a couple here locally, and then they get stuck. And it's because of the leadership. And so I was just talking with one of the local girls I hang out with the other day, and she was talking about how she knows like she's stuck because of her leadership, and just how she needs to work on it. And I don't know where I was going with that.
No, it's so true. So true.
But no, I think that's why a lot of people get stuck. I know that's why I'm stuck for sure. So, and I think just the idea of managing is way more intimidating. You think of managing people and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. That makes me not want to have a team. But then leadership, being the ability to lead others through influence, seems just a little less scary when you word it like that.
And it's super, like, something I've realized as my team's grown, and that I can like really, and I was talking with Melody Para about this like yesterday, I think, And she's someone who, like, she ranked up to gold pretty quick, and then she's been struggling to go from gold to senior gold, and she got like 10 points away from senior gold, and then like completely lost her rank. Like, it just like dropped, like her points just like plummeted. And we were both talking how like it's good that we see where our leadership is lacking now, because you don't want to get to senior ruby and never be able to rank emerald. Like, you will never be able to rank emerald because you don't have strong legs, because you're not a person of influence. You're just a good manager. You're okay like micromanaging and like pushing from behind and just like telling all of them to like come along with you. And that's not what a leader is. That's what a manager does. And you can get to a certain point. You just can't go.
What the heck was the girl's name? Jess, her last name, that went to Columbus. What is it?
Heffley?
Yeah, I never know if I remember. She's actually somebody that I forgot to put down as a lid one because of her influence. Like, how she leads her team is really impressive to me. And that's just after like kind of creeping on Facebook and being there at like when she was talking to all of us about what she does, most specifically like what she does with people beyond her level ones. And like she has groups, like she has them so that she has specific groups when new people join her team from any level, like 1 through 7. And then she'll try and pair people together so that they're like almost like Plexus buddies, like new buddies. And then she'll add them to like other groups and be like, hey, you guys need to talk, like you should hang out. Like, you're really good at posting and influence, and this girl is really great at the knowledge part. Like, we definitely need to hook up. And so she'll kind of like create almost like mini versions of her throughout her team, which I think is super smart.
And like that's the power of duplication. And they talk about that of like, you can't be like afraid of having people that are better or just as good as you are. Like, you need to have that. Like, you need to, and your influence and your power is never going to diminish because you've already established yourself in a leadership role. And but if you don't duplicate and just, you're like, I'm going to keep all these little minions like under me, that's like the worst way to go. Like, you have to uplift and then find the strong people and be like, all right, you're strong here and you're not. So like, let's mesh. And then they're going to have a team and do the same exact thing. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, Allie did that with me. So, okay, I know for a fact these two people are going to do well. So I'm going to mesh them together. And like, that's the whole, like so she's gotten that leadership law down, which is amazing. Because a lot of times people get especially females, I think we get intimidated of like, well, what if they're better than me? Like, what if they're a better public speaker and I like suck at the Zoom? Or what if they like grow faster and they rank faster than me and they realize like I'm a sucky leader? Like legit fears that I feel like females struggle with way more come into play and hinder us from growing in leadership. You want me to hold you? Oh, thanks. Oh, you're warm. Guys, we might have hand, foot, and mouth over here. Ooh. Can you say hi? No highs? Okay. Did you guys, I know Sam did. Did you do that influence thing where you try to persuade people to follow you and change like thoughts and change opinions at all?
Yes and no. I didn't write it all down.
Okay.
But just with specifically like not just my Plexus journey, but with like my whole health and wellness journey lately, had a lot of people message me, oh, how do you do gluten-free, dairy-free, or how do you do this, or how do you do that? And it's not just one specific area that they want help on, but they see me doing it and then they ask about it.
Mm-hmm.
You've been like killing it, by the way. Like, your posts have been so great. I'm sitting there just like clapping away for you. It's awesome.
Thank you. It's been quite a journey, but I think just going through the changes myself have given me more confidence, because influence was something that I did score higher on, and I've never really seen myself as an influential person. So just having people message me and ask me, I mean, even something as silly as what's your favorite gluten-free snack, like, I mean, that gives me a little bit of confidence and hope that, okay, well, maybe I'm not as sucky as I think I am.
And I think I've seen that like completely grow in you, like a lot. Even Sam, like I've seen that in both of you, like watching your Facebook. And I mean, even like my Time Hop, when it shows you like a status I posted from last year about Plexus, and it was like 2 people, and I was like, that's awful. Like, oh my gosh. And looking now, like knowing like, Casey, you can post like literally just about anything, and you're like influential in that area. So whether it's like, like, can you not do that? That's really obnoxious. Whether that's a health or a recipe or just somewhere where you went out to eat, people are like, oh, that's really good, or I wouldn't need to try that. Like something that you might not see as, can you not do that? I know it's so fun to do that. I know. It's so fun. Is that even in those small areas, that means like you hold a lot more influence in bigger areas than you think, because they wouldn't be caring and asking about the small areas if they didn't see and realize and recognize the influence. I'm gonna throw that. Oh yeah, I threw it. In the big areas. So whether or not these are people that will ever, message you about Plexus or join your team or whatever, it's that they're going to people who are going to support you regardless, even if they never join, because they know you're super influential, and they're going to want to support that and see that and run alongside of you, even if it's not business oriented. Don't do that. The thing's going to fall. Yeah. What do you see? Oh, it's a baby. That's actually you in the picture. That baby. The baby. Where'd the baby go? You popped out of the screen, so you can't see the baby anymore. I love you, child. You're weird. Yeah, you're super weird, aren't you? There is a. How'd you find that? That's a bummer. I think that's all really. And I had for like the long influence that I really liked. No, what? No, what? I don't know what you're saying. I'm not sure what you're saying. Oh, it's a Skittle. Yeah, Daddy left a Skittle in the couch. My husband sits here to play Xbox, and I will find like candy wrappers in my couch cushion. And he's like gluten-free and dairy-free. Did you just put that in your mouth? He never eats candy, so when he gets candy, he's like, He's smiling so big right now, like, I got it in my mouth. It's a good thing your father's on his way home. Hope that one was a sour one. Hope that, like, scars you. So what did you guys think of the log process? This was one that I was like, I didn't really care for the first, 3 times I read it. And then I read it this past week again, and I actually, surprisingly, liked it a whole lot more.
So I was definitely not as into it as the other ones, but I did like the read part, like the story part of it all. Your face, oh boy.
I have a TV on my husband. Like I said, he plays his Xbox right here, and the TV is on the corner of our coffee table, and my child is so klutzy. So klutzy. Continue.
No, you're fine. So I liked the analogy of the whole chapter, and how he very much so focuses on the fact that becoming a leader is a process. Like, it is not something like, which I know sounds like the obvious, right? But like, me as a person, like, I expect to do things like really well, really quickly. And so I read this over a couple times, mainly like the phases in the back of it, just because I like had to put it into my brain, like, you are going to take time to do this, because if you do it all really quickly, like, it's going to fall apart, for one, because you're not going to get everything. And so, yeah, I didn't like it at first, but as I read kind of more into it and really made myself focus on it, it helped. And I like the questions that it asks too, like the personal plan for growth and all that.
There's his hat. There's his hat. This is so good. Can you put that on him? Thank you. Okay, hold on. Sesame Street turned off, so now the end of the world is happening. Okay, let's turn on Sesame Street. Uh-oh, yeah, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh my goodness. And the iPad's about to die. End of the world. Okay. There we go. Check it out. Okay. I really like the phases as well. I underlined, like in phase 2, I know that I need to know. And I was being conscious that you are ignorant of the facts is a great step to knowledge. And that is, it's like when you realize that means your door is finally opening, that you can like take that step forward. And at the end, it says being put in charge is not the same as being a leader. And that's something, when I first read it, I was like, that's not true. And I think that was like a pride thing because like I've always been put in charge of stuff. And that does not mean that like, I was a good leader. It was just, I was loud and bossy. Like, nothing to do with me being a leader. Like, and there's, you know, quiet leaders and there's soft-spoken leaders. And I was just really loud and bossy. And it's just not the same. So I think that's why it took me a while to like read that and like fully like want to learn from it because it was a little like pride slap in the face. So that was let's go where? Going where? Where are we going? We're not going outside. It's dark out, weirdo. Who are people for you guys that you guys look up for inspiration? Like whether it's in Plexus, not in Plexus. Like if someone asks like, who inspires you? Could you like answer that like quickly? Okay, Sam, who do people inspire you then?
So right now, it would be my cousin actually, but because she's taking lead of her own life. So not necessarily being, like she is a leader and I do see the influence and I see a lot of these things, like all the different laws working in her, but she's definitely inspiration to me because she is unapologetic about how she's leading her life. And so that would be the one person right now that's definitely at the top of my list.
That's awesome. How about you, Casey?
I said Rachel. Just because I love the story of how she got started and how they could barely afford groceries and now she's making tons of money. And just how she was like so set on being successful in this that she did whatever it took. And she's still doing whatever it takes. She's still trying to develop her leadership and grow in the areas that she needs to grow in. But yeah, I guess the fact that she was relentless is what inspires me.
Yeah. And I think that's like, I mean, for both of you, so like I see that the same people who inspire me, it's because we're like, there's a huge inspiration because we want to be like that, or we see something that we want to grow in. Like for me, the person that like I wrote down is like when I counsel at my summer camp in Ohio, she was like the old camp director. Like she was like amazing. And she recently passed away this in September. Like when I wrote her down, like she was still like living. So it's like a little morbid. But she, even like with her not being here, is probably still so influential in like the legacy she's left. And that's like the last chapter in the book is like the law of legacy. In that it like closes it really well because like the person that you see that you want to grow into, like they're going to leave that legacy and you're going to follow it. And it like really spoke volumes to me because it was just like she was a psychiatrist or something, smart, and made you feel like better about yourself, like a lot better. But like she was just always there to like have a listening ear. And like, I just wanted to be that. Like I wanted to be someone that, you know, at 2 a.m. they could call and turn to. And even with her gone, like she's still someone I think that will forever change people's lives, and she's not even here anymore. So it really spoke to me about like, I mean, she was 85. So, I mean, she's definitely she got the law of leadership down and like excelled in it, and it was so noticeable. So I just was cool. My God, you're being really. I love you, honey. I love you. So what'd you guys do for a year ago? Which of these 5 phases would you place yourself in, and why? And what about today? I feel like that was like really hard for me because I'm like a girl, so I feel like I put myself down and I'm like, I could totally work on this. So I said I was in phase 3, that I know what I don't know. And then today I put myself like in between, like I'm starting to go into phase 4. Like it's starting.
Yeah. I like, at first when I was reading it, I was like, okay, I'm definitely in phase 3. But I think I'm more like ending phase 2, like kind of peeking into phase 3. And then I think that's like where I would say is definitely where I feel like I am.
And I was like, one day I'm going to be phase 5. And I was like, I might stay at that point. And that's like a goal. Like I want to be in phase 5. Yeah, that's like,
Yeah. It's funny. A year ago, I would have put myself in phase 4.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
But after reading this, I'm like, okay, I don't know everything. Like, I need to cut back and like actually learn more and more depth rather than just the surface of things.
And I think that because you're saying that doesn't put you at the end of phase 2 going into phase 3. That's you knowing it and like starting to like touch on phase 4. Now you're like able to creep into it, and it's gonna start. People are gonna be able to see that. And it's gonna like start growing into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you turn it down. Thank you. He's like, he knows it's loud. What about you, Casey?
Last year I was definitely in phase 1. Like I look back at some of my posts and I'm like,
Yeah,
pretty scary. But I think now I'm going into phase 3. I know what I don't know. Yeah.
I think phase 3 is such a pivotal point in leadership. I feel like you make it to phase 3 and you're like, okay, I'm good now. Or like you make it to phase 3 and you're like, all right, I made it, and now I'm going to like just launch forward. And you can tell, like you can so tell, especially when people first start off Plexus. And you'll know as your teams grow and you see that, it's very noticeable as a leader watching people. And you're like, you are stuck in phase 1. When you get to phase 3, you probably won't want to move because you're going to get so comfortable. And being able to like see that, engage that, and yourself grow because of it. And it's going to like motivate you to be a better leader. That's something I've realized, and that you can't force people out of stage 1 or phase 1. Like you can't. Like if they're there, they're there. And that's just where they're going to hang out for a while, and then until they go through this book and move forward. And so that was something I really liked, that I was like, oh, that's so true. As a leader, this is, yes, for personal growth, but something you'll start seeing in your team, and then you're not going to want to even like put people on your team because you know they're stuck in phase 1 just by not even being a part of Plexus. And that's, I feel like, something or you can see the potential and be like, they might be in phase 1, but I know for a fact they have the potential to go above and beyond. And those are going to be your strong runners, and those are the people who are going to run alongside of you and be like your, some of your stronger legs, even though they might be in phase 1. So, oh, child, that's so obnoxious. Who are people who contribute to your growth as leaders? Rachel is like a huge one for me because she's an amazing leader.
Yeah.
And, well, like, hello. Like, this book is amazing.
I think people that have contributed to mine would be my mom. I think she's a really strong leader. And since I'm around her literally all the time, like that's what I feel and what I see and what I want to be more like. But then recently, like it's definitely been you and Rachel and Ashley. Like it's been,
Ashley,
yeah. No, it's been incredible. Like the support, the leadership, the like pouring into me, I feel, and it makes me not only like think I can do it, but makes me want to be a better leader too, and to delve into myself more.
That's awesome. And like Ashley's and me, I really don't have a super deep connection with Ashley. I don't know why. I just haven't really ever like pursued that. But like she's someone that watching her and me and her are very different. And I think she's a lot more like you, Sam. Like I think you and Ashley are more similar. That she like speaks volumes to me because she sees things in completely different ways than I ever would. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess yeah. So Ashley's a super great one. What about you, Casey?
Tom? Said Rachel. Again, she's my answer for everything, evidently. But
It means like she does what she's doing.
she does, and the weekly calls have really, really helped, like a lot. And the questions that she asks really, really challenge me to go out of my comfort zone and just evaluate how I'm doing things, what areas we need to work on, how I can lead better, etc., etc. But yeah,
She's fantastic. She's so helped me. And she's real about it. She's not like, you're doing a great job. She's like, you are doing a great job, but you need to work on, and she'll like give you a list. And like, I mean, she's like one of my closest friends, and like we talk like every day and like maybe touch on Plexus things. And then I'm like, when she does bring up Plexus to me, I'm like, oh no, because like she knows me better. And I'm like, why would you say that? That's so true. It's so true. Like, I know it's true. So, like, even today I was getting frustrated about something very stupid. Like, that had to do with, like, Vegas. It was extremely stupid. And I was like, I know, it's petty. Wow, I just talked myself out of that whole entire situation just by telling you it. And she's like, okay. And I was like, okay, I'm moving on now. Like, pettiness gone. And it was, yeah, she's hilarious. So she really helps refine me.
Casey, are you going to Vegas?
I am.
Yes. Awesome.
Super nervous, but I'm excited.
It'll be so much fun.
I'm super nervous. I'm like such a baby right now about going to Vegas alone with my infant.
You'll have so much help, though. You really will.
Right. And I know I will. I'm not like worried about not having help. I'm more worried that like
Getting there.
yeah, like I have to fly alone with a 6-week-old.
Oh, you did decide to fly.
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to fly. Like 98% sure. So, which is fine. It's better than driving. But it just scares me. So, a little worried. Super. Yeah, there's a lot, like, I'm just like overthinking certain things I don't need to be overthinking. So, it's fine. Completely fine. Can you not? Okay, you're going to pull the cord off of the computer. Thank you. Let's be careful. Is there anything else you guys wanted to go over on either like 3 chapters at all?
I'm good.
This is definitely going to be a book that's going to be read through several times.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I will forever read this book, and there's always new like underlining things. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I like feel like every time I read it, I'm like, I suck as a person. But it's good. Like, it's really refining. But if you like really go into it with like an open heart for like change, like you're going to grow from it. Like that's like a huge step of realizing that like you're not perfect. But so we're going to go over the law of navigation, the law of addition, and then the law of solid ground. And those are really like those 3 chapters are like super meaty, like super meaty. Let's just read all the chapters are. So I'm going to go through them again, and we might just go over like the first 2 and then like do it like by 2. But let's plan on doing the 3, 4, 5, and 6. Can you not draw on your foot? That's probably not super smart. Yeah, you're drawing on your foot.
Okay, I have to go. I have to pack.
You're leaving Hawaii.
It's cool, but next time it'll be more than 24 hours.
And you'll be there with a bunch of emeralds.
Yes, that's the plan.
It was great talking with you, ladies.
You too.
Great. I
Thank
will talk to you guys, I'm sure, like, probably way before next week.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to you both, like, often. So.
Oh, yeah.
Great. I will talk to you ladies later, and have a great evening. I need to go.
Bye.
Bye.